What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Zariath Plays channel. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different from what I normally do when I make these videos. We're not going to be flying around killing ships today. We're going to be talking about how to actually fit a ship in EVE Online. This is a tutorial meant for new players who have just logged into the game, have taken one look at all this and gone, holy shit, what am I doing? Why am I here? What is going on? So this is hopefully going to clear up a lot of confusion for a lot of players that come new to the game, because unfortunately the EVE tutorial doesn't really talk about some of the advanced fitting techniques that you need to use on your ships. And when I say advanced fitting techniques, I'm talking about armor, shield tanking, utilizing your ship's bonuses. So these are actually a bit basic, but it seems like knowledge that some of the players I've come across recently just don't possess, so I consider it to be slightly advanced. So this is going to be a very basic, bare bones tutorial. We're just going to be talking about how to fit a ship and what windows you're going to need open whilst you're doing it. We're going to be talking about the different slots that we have in our ship, our rigging slots, high slots, mid slots, and low slots, and what all the information on this fitting window means. We're also going to be talking about utilizing the market in simulation mode so that we can fit a ship out without having to spend a dime to make sure that we get a ship finally that we actually want without having to spend a bunch of ISK to figure out whether or not the ship we want to fly will actually work. So without further ado, let's begin. So we're going to talk about armor tanking today. So we're just going to already drag this vector into this window, have a completely blank slate in our simulation window. And this is basically a tool that you can use to fit a ship out and see what the stats are going to look like without actually having to buy anything. This is a very great window, especially for people that are new to the game, because it lets you play around with ship fittings and then save them. So over here, we have our list of fits, basically, that we have saved on this account. As you can see, I have a fair number. I'm not going to lie, a lot of these are not very good fits. These are fits that I kind of considered as a new player coming up, but I didn't end up using a lot of the time. And I just am not very good at cleaning out my fits. If we look right here, we'll see that we have blue check marks and red X's. The blue check marks mean that with the skills I currently have, I can fly the ship with that fitting. If I with the red X's, I cannot fly the ship because I do not have the correct fitting skills. So if we look on here, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be something along the lines of power diagnostic systems. That is stopping me from fitting. Oh, okay, what is it? I'm actually curious now why I can't fly this. Is it sensor boosters? I bet it is. Requirements. Yep. See, I need another day and 14 hours. So this lets me see the ship with my current skills, with my current stats. I'm able to fit a ship and see what the ship can do in this moment in time. So even though I can't fly the ship, I can still see that the changes to my targeting range. If I take this off, we'll see that my targeting range now declines quite drastically. So this is something to keep in mind. All right, let's bring that vector back over here. All right, so when you look at this window, you're also going to see this long list of information, and this is just basic information about what your ship is capable of doing with the fitting you have. So as you can see, we got our capacitor, which is the power that your ship generates to activate active modules, such as weapon systems and shield boosters and armor wrappers and a whole bunch of other things. This window will show what we have left over in our capacitor with every single system turned on by default. So if you want to see what your ship will look like with a prop module turned off, you'd need to actually shut it off in the fitting window so you can see what your capacitor will actually look like. Down here, we have our offense capability, which shows our total DPS, which is based off of our weapon DPS and our drones, and our alpha strike from our ship's weaponry, so we can see how much damage we do in each volley. This isn't really that useful of a number unless you're looking at ships that do so much alpha that they actually kill in one shot. So things like ganking ships or long-range volleying ships. Things like that, you're going to want to care a little bit more about your alpha strike. If you're close range, long-term combat, your DPS is definitely going to be a lot more important to you. Down here, we have our defensive ability. So we should see our effective hit points, which is extrapolated from the amount of health we have in our shield, armor, and structure, the regeneration rate of our shields, and the resistances of all three of these things. So the higher these resistances go, the higher our EHP will be. The lower these are, the less EHP we're going to have. There's really no way to lower resistances on a ship that come default on it, so that's good. This is basically what our stock is going to be like. Down here we have our targeting ability, which shows us the distance we can target out to, how fast we can target something, the sensor strength of the ship, and the signature radius of the ship. So, and our max lock targets. Down here we have our navigation, which shows us our base speed without our prop mod on, since we don't have one. But turning your prop mod on will actually increase your maximum velocity and affect things such as your ship's mass. Your warp speed can be affected by certain riggings. Your ship's align time can be affected by armor fitting, and your inertia modifier, which affects how fast your ship can accelerate and turn. Finally, we have our drones. So this tells us how much bandwidth we have for launching drones, how many we have active in space in our simulation, and how far we can control them out to, as well as DPS that they'll do. So that's the bare bones basics of what this window can do for you. So now we're going to look at actually fitting the ship. So I have open my regional market here. I am in JITA, so pretty much everything in the game will be available to me to show off and fit. So we're going to start off by putting on an armor fit. Now, when you're fitting out a ship for long-term combat, such as dealing with ratting sites or dealing with PvP, and you're not intending to alpha strike somebody, your tank is going to be more important to you than your DPS in a lot of cases, because you want your ship to be able to stay on the field. Now, there are two ways you can armor tank a ship. You can go for a buffer tank, which just gives you a crap load of EHP, or you can go for an active tank, which is lower HP, but you start repairing the damage that's done to you. There are definite positives and negatives to each of these two different defense types, but I'm going to go over both those with you, so don't worry about it. So first off, we're going to go for a buffer tank. So that means we're going to need a couple of things to make this ship very, very tanky. So let's look up some steel plates. So right here we have a list of steel plates in a market, and if you look at it, we can see how much power grid and how much CPU that these steel plates are going to take up on our fitting window. Keep in mind, your ship only has a certain amount of these things. As you can see, I only have 375 CPU and 875 power grid. You can change this by fitting certain modules to the ship to upgrade it, fitting implants, and training skills, but these numbers aren't going to change a whole heck of a lot, so try not to go too far over them. So, since we're flying a cruiser, we can definitely go for probably some 400 or 800. Nope, definitely not 800. Let's go with dual 400 steel plates, just because I like dual fitting. So that's just going to put us up to 13,000 EHP, which is still not a very good number considering that we want to stay on the field for a very long time with a buffer tank. So let's add some more things to increase our resistances. So there's a lot of things that you can use to do that. So let me just look this up. Let me see, ship equipment, hull and armor, where to go? Here it is. Armor plates, nope. Energized plating. So here we go. So this energized plating is a way of adding resistances to your ship without having to worry about using up your cap. Because one of the benefits to flying a ship like this is that you're not going to use up a lot of cap to defend your ship. So we're going to throw on some energized adaptive nanomembranes, and we're going to throw on 2 of these. Now this brings us up to 17,000 EHP. So now we are a little bit over double what our ship's original HP was like. So we're now starting to get into a slightly longer lifetime for the ship in combat. So let's do one last thing, and that's going to be a damage control. I'm just going to look it up because I don't want to keep clicking through. A damage control is basically a module that's going to add resistances across the board to shield, armor, and structure. And it's going to give you that chance to get away if you need to when you start to dip into your structure rather than just watching your ship melt instantly. So we're going to throw that on there. And now we're up to 21,812 EHP. We still have a fair amount of power grid left over and a fair amount of CPU left. So we still have there's still ways to make this health bar go up even more. So, and we want to look into those since we'll be using drone damage rather than our ship's own weapon systems to make sure that we actually win the fight. I would be remiss if I didn't note that the ship does have its native bonuses to hybrid turrets and drone damage, so we don't have to worry too much about trying to increase this bonus too much further than this. This is the one drawback to using this type of fit, is that we won't be able to upgrade our drone damage, so we're going to be relying very heavily on this 10% bonus per skill level. So now that we've increased this number, we're going to do one more thing to make it even higher. Yes, guys, we're going to make this number even bigger than just 21,000 EHP because we can definitely go more. Bigger, better, harder, stronger. So, but definitely not faster, and I'll get into that. So what we're going to use some riggings. Now, rigs are different from regular modules that you can put on a ship because putting them on means you cannot take them back off again, ever. If you do take them off, it will destroy the module, and you won't get it back. So you have to be very careful about what you put on these ships, and make sure that what you put on into your rig slots is something you actually want to be there. Thankfully, since we're using simulation mode, we don't have to worry about removing things too much because it's not going to affect our wallet, since these are basically arbitrary modules that don't actually exist. So we're going to throw on some Trimark modules, and then we're going to throw on an explosive plate. Where'd it go? An explosive kinetic pump. Here we go. And that puts us at 30,000 EHP with 72% resistance to EM and 64% resistance to the other 3 damage types. This does mean that our ship speed has actually been reduced. As you can see, our line time with these modules off is 5.82 seconds, and with these modules on, we're now at 6.21. If I shut off the 2 Trimarks, oh, no, that didn't actually change anything. I forget what the debuff to these things are. Let me see. Expensive velocity. Oh, yeah, maximum ship velocity. So that would be right here. 173 is what we can go at right now. 201 without them. So there's always going to be drawbacks to fitting any type of fit to the ship, but there's also going to be definite positives. With these turned off, we're down to 17,000 EHP. With them turned on, we're up to 30,000. That's actually a respectable number for a cruiser like this one, and it should be able to stay on the battlefield for a fairly decent amount of time. Now the next thing we're going to add to the ship is we're going to flesh out the mid slots. So in almost every fit, you should try to have a propulsion module of some kind. So in this case, we're going to go for a 50 meganewton micro warp drive. Let's see if we can actually fit one. We're going to put the compact one on because they're very cheap, and you're not going to get a lot of velocity out of the ship anyways. And now we start to see this red number happen. Now what this means is that with this prop mod always running, we are going to run out of cap in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, provided that there are no other effects present on the field that would negatively or positively affect this number. Now I will say that you will probably never have this running full out, and you're only going to be using the prop mod to try to get to wrecks or things like that, or try to close the gap between you and an enemy pilot a little bit more quickly so that you can get something like, say, a tackle on it. And we will be fitting this chip out for PvP, so keep that in mind. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a warp scrambler to the ship. Now the warp scrambler is basically a electronic warfare device that is going to stop your enemy, from getting away from you. What this means is that once you've applied a warp scramble to them, you're going to put 2 points of what I like to think of as warp negation. There's a different name for it. It's warp scramble strength. Yeah, think of it as negation. So basically, unless the enemy has 2 points or more on their warp scrambler strength, on their warp strength, and usually it's a 0, they're not going to be able to fly away. They're going to be stuck with you on the field until you die or you let them go. One of these 2 things will happen. I will say that there's a very limited range to this, which just goes into having the prop module, and that's only 7,500 meters. Now we could go for a disruptor, which is warp scramble strength of 1, but if the enemy fits anything like, say, a warp stabilizer, warp core stabilizer, then we're not going to be able to keep them on the field with us, and they're going to get away. So warp scramble strength 2 is definitely not a bad number. You can go for a more expensive module, such as the Caldari Navy version of this, but we're just going to try to keep this fit as cheap as we can, and we're already up to 74 million ISK. We are spending a bit more on our armor fit, or our armor tank, because we want this ship to stay alive as long as possible in a fight. But the rest of this we can definitely budget and keep on the cheap side. The next thing we're going to do is a stasis webifier. Now, the stasis webifier's job is to slow the enemy ship down so they can't actually fly away from you. As I said before, the warp scrambler has a minimum range of 7,500 meters. So if we don't have a stasis webifier on us, our armor tank is going to keep us slowed down. We're going to have to run the prop mod more often, and the enemy ship is going to eventually pull range from us and get away. A Vexor isn't really capable of very rapid kills by itself. It'll do that in a gang, but with this fit and our inability to increase our drone damage any more than the 10% bonus we get from the hull, we're not going to be able to win a fight very rapidly. We're going to want to be able to keep the enemy with us on the field long enough to overwhelm their tank and kill them. So we're going to put this on, and we're going to go for the enduring version of this. Now this is going to reduce the enemy ship's velocity by 55%. Now you'll note that when I turn these off, our velocity isn't really negated by 50%. It's negated by not even like 10, maybe 20%. So this is going to definitely keep the enemy moving slower than us. And if they're in an armor tank ship like ours, they're actually going to be a lot slower. Instead of going at with a turned off prop mod 173.8, they'll be going at a speed of like 80, which is going to be really bad for them. The last thing we're going to fit to the ship is some... Actually, now we have an empty mid slot, and we don't really need anything else for it. So we're going to think about this a little bit more, and we'll come back to it. The next we're going to fit to the ship is some guns, because we definitely have the power grid for it, and any damage is good damage. Now you will note that we have no benefit to using guns on this fit, I don't believe. Oh, I lied. We do have hybrid turret damage. My mistake, guys. So we will actually get a little bit of bonus to our guns as well. So the Vexor is a ship that uses hybrid turrets. There are 4 different weapon systems, and the Vexor is a hybrid weapon system user. Hybrid weapons deal a lot of damage, but they also use up a lot of cap. So keeping this prop mod turned off is going to be essential to being able to keep shooting as long as we can. So let's look at turrets. Ignore the rest of these for now. We'll get into them at a different time. So there are 2 different types of hybrid turrets. There are blasters and railguns. Railguns are the long-range companions to blasters, which are short-range. Think of a blaster as like a really powerful shotgun, and think of a railgun as something like a sniper rifle. Both of them use up cap, but the blaster, since it's very short range, is capable of doing a lot more damage than a railgun is. Since we're going to be fighting at close range anyways to keep this warp scramble effect on, we're going to use the blasters because we want as much damage as possible. And we're going to fit medium blasters onto this Vexor because it is a cruiser and is capable of handling them. There are a lot of different weapons here. Keep in mind that the lower value you go, and the weaker the weapon's going to be. So you're going to want to spend the 1,000 or so extra ISK to make sure that you're doing as much damage as possible. In this case, we're going to throw on some neutron particle accelerators. These are just basically blasters with a really fancy name. Now we have 4 of these. You'll note that these blasters have some little rectangles above them, and that indicates that they need charges to actually function. You're not going to be able to shoot anything without any ammunition. So we're going to throw in some hybrid ammo. The railgun will use the same hybrid ammo as the blasters will, so you don't have to worry about looking for railgun specific ammunition. And we're going to throw on the anti-mana charges. So right now we're doing 123.6 DPS, and as a lot of pilots like to say, this number is basically shooting your guns as long as possible cold. And you can actually overheat your weapons in this game with the what skill is that? I forget what the skill is. I think it's an engineering skill. I could be wrong though. Thermodynamics, here it is. Thermodynamics will let you overheat. But keep in mind that when you're overheating modules, while it will be doing a little bit more damage, you're also going to start damaging them. And once they run out of HP, the module will stop working. Don't worry about the module disappearing forever. It won't. It will just be unusable until you've repaired it at a station. So keep that in mind when you're overheating. So we do know that the Vexor is actually a drone boat. It is capable of launching out a flight of up to 5 drones of medium class and 3 drones of heavy class. I know these numbers off the top of my head. Don't worry about it. We'll get into them a little bit. Actually, right now, if you think about it. So let's look at drones. As you can see, there's a lot of different types of drones. Salvage, mining, logistics, electronic, warfare drones, combat utility drones, flyers, and combat drones. For the most part, most pilots just stick to combat drones, and occasionally you'll see some electronic warfare drones out in space, but you're not going to see fighters very often unless they're attacking the structure, and you're not going to see a lot of these combat utility drones. That's what a fleet is for. So there's 4 different classes of combat drone, and that's the sentry drone, the medium scout drone, the light scout, and the heavy attack drone. Basically, each of these drones is suited to a specific purpose. The sentry drone is a drone that will sit still and will be able to snipe things out to a very significant range. Attributes of this drone, if you look at them, the optimal range for this drone is 35 kilometers. Our Vexor's optimal range is 1,800 meters, so this drone can shoot significantly further than our Vexor can. But it is a very big drone, so it takes up a lot of CPU requirement. Let's see if I can find that number real quick for you so you can see what I mean. Here we go. Bandwidth needed, 25 megabits. So with using up our maximum drone bandwidth, we can only put 3 of these in space. So these are basically for doing structure bashes and for sniping enemy targets very far away. If someone gets too close to these drones are not going to be very effective. Now the rest of these drones are actually capable of moving around, and they all basically serve the same role of applying damage to the enemy. However, light scout drones are uniquely suited to damaging enemies that are small, such as destroyers or frigates. The medium scout drones are better off shooting enemies that are a little bit larger, such as cruisers and sometimes battle cruisers. And the heavy attack drones are good for shooting at enemies that are battleship sized, battle cruiser sized, or higher. Light scout drones are faster than the medium scout. Medium scouts are faster than the heavy, and the heavy are the slowest of the bunch. So that's one of the reasons why they're more suited to attacking certain things, is that the bigger the ship is, the slower it is, so you can apply more damage to it. That's the general basis behind how drones work. Since the Vexor has a rather significant drone bay, and actually if I open up, I don't actually have a Vexor in my inventory though. Ooh. Alright, hold up. Show info. Oh, not V-marker details. Alright, well, this will work. If we look at our attributes, we can see that our drone capacity is 125 meters cubed. That means that we should be able to fit, I believe, a flight of 5 of these medium drones. Let me just take a look. Let me see. Drone size is... Where'd it go? I know it's on here. Sorry, guys. Should be here. Bandwidth, orbit level, meta level. Oh, here we go. Volume, 10. So yeah, we should be able to fit a full flight of 5 light drone, or medium drones, and a full flight of light drones, which are only 5. So let's throw on some drones. So we're just going to take this drone, and we're going to say that we do actually have the ability to fly Hammerhead 2s, so let's do that. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts us up to a little bit more respectable 308.9 DPS using medium drones. If you go to the Manage Drones tab, you can actually change the number of drones you have in space by clicking these boxes, or you can actually just remove some of these drones from your cargo bay. So we're going to put that down, and now we're going to put on some light drones. So we're going to put on some Hobgoblin 2s. I do not actually have the skills up, so we're actually going to do the Hobgoblin 1s, because you want to stick with the stuff that we have the skills to do. This character is a Gila pilot, which is why I skipped over Light Drones 5 and I went on for Medium Drones 5. So now we're all up to 211 DPS, 87.4 of it coming off of our drones. And this is now a fully fitted out ship with the exception of this one empty mid slot. We are actually stable on cap for everything else, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to put on a second Warp Scrambler. The reason being, you'll be able to actually more easily keep somebody on range, or potentially apply another Warp Scrambler effect to somebody else. You could actually put on a double stasis web of fire. It really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to do a basic fitting tutorial here. I'm not trying to get too much into the semantics of what to do with an empty mid slot. So I typically fly a fit like this when I'm flying my Stratios, so this is the fit that I'm showing you guys. But anyways, this is a buffer fit Vexor. Now we're gonna change this ever so slightly to an active fit, which means we're gonna want to take off some of these rigging slots, especially these Trimarks, because they won't benefit an active tank. So we're gonna take off these guys. We're gonna leave these here for a moment, and we're gonna see what we can do. So let's go in for a armor repairer. Now you'll note that we are back down to 14,000 EHP. This number doesn't really mean anything anymore because we're going for an active tank. You're going to want to look a lot more into what your ship's recharge rate is like. So if we go into ship equipment, hull and armor, and where is it? Armor repairs. Here we go. Armor repairs. Let's try to fit a large one on here. I'm going to go for a single rep fit. Nope, I'm not going to be able to do that. Medium rep it is. Okay. Oh, this character cannot use that. Polarized? Armor regenerator? I really don't know what the better one is. Alright, let's take a look real quick. If we go into variations, compare, we can actually look at meta level to see which one of these is better than the rest. So we're looking for meta level 4. Here it is. Accommodation Investment Reconstructor. Alright, let's put that on then. Here we go. Bing. And now we're repairing 30.6 HP a second. This is without any rigs boosting us. Now keep in mind that the EVE tool is not very smart when it comes to active tanks. And this number is actually going to be radically different. Because of the fact that we are actually taking less damage, your ship should be able to handle more damage than just 30 HP a second. We're going to actually go in for a second one of these guys and go for a dual rep fit. And now we're like this, and now we're really overpowered. Wow. Okay, we can't do a dual rep on a Vexor. Good to know. So then we are actually just going to have to deal with this. And the prop mod doesn't even work. So now we're starting to get into the semantics of having fitting issues. We are 101 over with this prop mod because of this armor repper. So we're going to take the prop mod off for the moment, and we're going to consider something else. You will note, though, that our navigation is significantly faster now because we have taken off the buffer fit. An active tank isn't going to really have any drawbacks to your ship. It's just trying to fix your ship. So since we can't actually put on a second armor repair, we're going to want to look into increasing our resistances even more. So we're going to throw on another one of these guys. You will note that these are heavily penalized for each one you put on the ship. And actually, how about we go for an active one to go with these two passive adaptive nanos. Let me see. Armor partners? We don't want reactive. Oh, you know what? That's right. They changed them, didn't they? I don't think there's an active adaptive nano. Oh yeah, they're energized. Here we go. Energized adaptive nano membrane. We will note. Oh, here we go. Adaptive nano plating. Here we go. Bing. This is. Oh, it's on an active module. What? I'm really confused now. Huh. Weird. I guess that the difference is that one uses up more power grid than the other. Protects against all types of damage and specialized. Yeah. Weird. I thought that these actually used up capacitor. They definitely did before a while back, but I guess they don't do that right now. They're passive modules now. So, hey, learn something new every day, guys. I usually fit these energized ones because they're a little bit better than the regular just adaptive nanos. Okay, so anyways, we've increased our resistances even higher, so we can actually take a lot more damage. So the problem with the Vexor's active fit is that we're just not getting a whole lot of HP a second back with this fit. But it is definitely possible to increase that number, even though our power grid is a little bit tight. So let's look into putting on some rigs that should increase our ship's repair rate. So let's go, let me see, we don't need equipment, we need ship modifications, armor rigs, and we're looking for auxiliary nano pumps. Bang, bang. That brings that number up to 39. That's actually a lot bigger than you might think, just because of the fact that the resistances are higher as well. So that's going to have a much bigger impact than just increasing by 9 a second. It should be noted that it takes about 10 10.5 seconds for this armor repair to cycle. What that means is that it will only repair your ship 430 HP every 10.5 seconds. So when you're starting to slip into armor, you should definitely have this turned on before you start taking armor damage. So there's one more thing that I wanted to show you guys before we wrap this up, and that is the ancillary armor repper. Now this is an armor repper that is very similar to the rest of them. However, it is unique in the fact that it takes charges. And if I can find it real quick, I can show you what I mean by that. Ancillary armor repair. Here it is. Okay, so as you can see, this does only 269 HP every 10.8 seconds. It's also very, very cap hungry. If I turn it off, we go stable. I turn it on, we're down to like 3 minutes. And this is even without the prop mod turned on. So this isn't a very good armor repper, but hold on and let me add something to this little guy. What charges? Where'd it go? Charges. Nanite. Here we go. Nanite repair paste. Now all of a sudden, this little guy is now giving us a whopping 807 HP back every 10.5 seconds versus the 200 piddly HP that it was giving us before. That means that we are now repping 74 HP a second, which is a significant jump over the other armor repper I showed you. The problem is that this uses up charges. And once it runs out of its 32 nanite charges, your ship is going to have a very, very inefficient armor repair. Once again, I take this charge off. We go back down to 269 every 10.5 seconds, and our tank goes all the way down to 24 HP a second, which is very, very bad. So you definitely need to be keeping an eye on this guy. Only repair when you need it. So once you start to take big armor damage, turn this on, rep back up to full again, and then turn it back off again. That will allow you to stay in the fight even longer. Well, guys, that's the end of this particular tutorial. I showed you how to utilize your high slots for weapons. I showed you the utilities that you get out of using a armor fit ship with your mid slots, and how to fit an actual armor fit to your ship. I even showed you guys a little bit with rigs. You could put all kinds of other things in here, such as weapon boosters and things like that. But we mostly just wanted to focus on the defense today. So anyways, this has been Xeriath, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And look forward to the next video, which will be showing a shield tank. Goodbye, guys.